You know that surge of emotion that hits you out of nowhere? Someone makes a comment, forgets to text back, cuts you off in traffic, and suddenly you're furious, anxious, or shut down. Most people try to get rid of that feeling, distract, scroll, blame, vent, or shame themselves for overreacting. But what if every trigger was actually a map, a direct path to the exact part of you that needs healing and power? In this video, we're turning triggers into strategy. You'll learn how to use your emotional reactions as a practical tool, not a personal failure. We're going to unpack the psychology behind triggers, walk through a repeatable process to work with them, and build a simple system you can actually use in real life under real stress. If you've tried shadow work and it felt vague, mystical, or just confusing, stay with this, because we're making it concrete, grounded, and doable. In case you're new to the term, shadow work is simply exploring the parts of yourself that you've pushed away, old pain, beliefs, behaviors, and emotions you learned weren't acceptable. Triggers are how those hidden parts wave a red flag and say, "Hey, I still exist." Instead of seeing triggers as proof that you're broken, we're going to treat them like notifications from your unconscious, asking for an update. In this video, I'll guide you through a full framework. What triggers really are, how to spot them in real time, how to safely feel instead of explode or shut down, and how to extract the lessons so each trigger actually changes something. By the way, if you're serious about inner work, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell. I make long-form practical breakdowns like this regularly, and I'll reference ideas that build over time. And stick with me until the end. We'll recap clear steps and a small challenge you can start today. Let's get precise. A trigger is not just something that annoys me. A trigger is a present moment cue, something you see, hear, or experience that activates an old emotional wound or threat pattern. Your reaction is often way bigger than the situation calls for because your nervous system isn't responding to now, it's responding to then. Think of it like a file on your internal hard drive. The current situation just double-clicked it. Shadow work that works starts with noticing that gap between the size of the event and the size of your reaction. Your partner being 5 minutes late shouldn't feel like abandonment from childhood, but it can if that wound is unprocessed. So the first strategic shift is stop asking, "Why am I like this?" and start asking, "What is this reminding my body of?" That question turns shame into curiosity, and curiosity is the doorway to all effective shadow work. To work with triggers strategically, you need to understand your nervous system. When you get triggered, your body shifts into survival mode: fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Your heart rate changes, breathing shifts, muscles tighten, your thoughts race or go blank. If you try to do shadow work while you're fully flooded, it's like trying to rewire a house while the power's surging. Step 1 is always regulation, not analysis. That might mean grounding through your senses, naming 5 things you see, 4 you can touch, 3 you hear, 2 you smell, 1 you taste, or slowing your exhale, in for 4, out for 8, repeat it for a minute or 2. Once your body is even slightly calmer, your prefrontal cortex comes back online. Then, you can start exploring the deeper layers. Strategy here means don't skip the body. Your shadow lives in patterns of tension, posture, and breath just as much as in thoughts and memories. Now, let's turn a trigger into a usable shadow work entry. After you've grounded a bit, grab a journal or notes app. Write down 3 things. First, what happened? Just the observable facts, no story. Second, what did I feel in my body and emotions? Tight chest, heat in my face, shame, rage, numbness, whatever is honest. Third, what did I tell myself this meant about me, them, or the world? For example, they didn't reply, so I must be annoying. People always leave. I can't trust anyone. Those meanings are your gold. They reveal old programming and implicit beliefs formed from past experiences. Shadow work isn't just feeling your feelings, it's learning to see the hidden rulebook your mind is using. With this simple three-part log, every trigger becomes a data point. Over time, you'll start to see repeating stories. That's your shadow's outline becoming visible. Here's where we go deeper. Once you've captured what happened, what you felt, and the meaning you gave it, ask, where have I felt this before? Close your eyes for a moment and let your mind drift. Does this sensation, this fear, this anger, this collapse remind you of earlier seasons of your life? Maybe a parent dismissing you, a teacher embarrassing you, a breakup, bullying, or subtle chronic neglect. You're not looking for a perfect memory. You're feeling for a familiar pattern. That pattern is your shadow trail. The strategy here is to connect the current trigger to its emotional family tree. When you recognize, oh, this isn't just about my boss, this is every time I felt powerless, your reaction starts to make sense. And what makes sense becomes workable. Instead of, I'm overreacting, you can say, I'm carrying a 10-year backlog of this feeling. No wonder it's big. Shadow work only goes so far in your head. You need to bring the body into it. After locating an old pattern, gently revisit the feeling, but with today's resources. Sit somewhere safe, feet on the ground. Notice where the trigger lives in your body: throat, chest, stomach, jaw, shoulders. Instead of pushing it away, see if you can give that area a bit more space through breath, posture, or even placing a hand there. You might say internally, it's okay for this sensation to be here for a moment. I'm here with you now. This isn't about reliving trauma. It's about staying present with manageable intensity. If it's too much, back off. Look around the room, name objects, remind yourself of the current date. The strategy is titration. Feel a little, regulate, feel a little more. Over time, your nervous system learns, I can touch this without drowning, and that changes your trigger response at the root. Let's talk about the most uncomfortable part, owning your projections. A lot of what we hate in others is actually disowned in ourselves. Triggers are often your shadow saying, you do this too, or you want to do this but aren't allowed to. For instance, you might judge someone as selfish for setting boundaries because you were taught to always self-sacrifice. Your trigger is not just about them, it's about your exiled desire to take up space. Strategy. When you're triggered by someone's behavior, add this question to your journal. What part of me is like this, or wants permission to be like this? This doesn't mean others are never wrong. It means you reclaim your power by seeing your side clearly. Shadow work that works never stops at they're toxic. It also asks, what is this reaction revealing about my own edges, fears, and unlived potentials? That's where triggers become instruction manuals for growth. Relationships are trigger factories, and that's not a bad thing. Partners, friends, coworkers constantly mirror our patterns back to us. Instead of seeing conflict as pure disaster, we can treat it as a lab for shadow work. Here's a simple communicative strategy. After you've regulated, share from ownership, not accusation. Replace, you made me feel invisible, with, when X happened, I noticed a big reaction in me. It reminded me of times I felt invisible before we even met. I'm working on it, but I also need Y from you. The shadow move is twofold. You take responsibility for your history, and you advocate for your needs in the present. Triggers in relationships highlight where we collapse into old roles: people pleaser, rescuer, persecutor, victim. Naming the role aloud often breaks its spell. I can feel my old fixer mode taking over right now. Awareness turns a fight into a growth conversation. Here's a powerful journaling template to turn triggers into repeatable strategy. After the basic log, add 4 prompts. 1. What did I need back then that I didn't get? 2. Can I give even 5% of that to myself right now? 3. What is one tiny boundary, request, or behavior shift that honors this need? 4. What belief about myself or the world do I want to experiment with instead? Notice, we're not jumping to affirmations like I am worthy of everything if your body screams no. We're choosing believable upgrades from no one cares about me to some people in my life are capable of caring and I'm learning to lean toward them. The goal is experiments, not perfection. This template turns every trigger into a micro-coaching session with yourself. Over weeks, you'll build a custom playbook, patterns, needs, boundaries, and revised beliefs tailored to your actual life, not generic advice. For shadow work to actually stick, it must move from reflection to rehearsal. Your nervous system learns by repetition, not insight alone. So when you identify a new belief or boundary, practice it in low-stakes situations. If your trigger is around speaking up, don't start with confronting your boss. Start with telling a friend which restaurant you actually prefer. Afterward, log how it felt. Fear, relief, weirdness, and remind your body, we survived that. This is exposure therapy for your shadow, gently introducing it to new, safer experiences. Also, expect extinction bursts, where old patterns flare up just as you're changing. That doesn't mean the work failed, it means your system notices the shift. Strategy here. Measure progress by capacity, not perfection. Are your triggers slightly less intense? Do you recover faster? Can you stay curious 10% longer? That's real neurological progress, not just a mindset shift. Let's address a common trap, turning shadow work into self-attack. You start noticing your patterns and suddenly everything becomes, this is my trauma, I'm too broken, I'm toxic. That's just your inner critic hijacking the process. Effective shadow work is firm but compassionate. Imagine you're sitting with a younger version of yourself who developed these defenses to survive. You don't yell at a kid for learning to hide. You thank them for getting you here and then update the strategy. When you spot a pattern, people-pleasing, avoidance, rage, try saying, this made sense, then, I'm choosing differently, now. That phrase honors the old while inviting the new. If you notice you're spiraling, pause the exploration and focus solely on regulation and soothing activities. Walk, shower, music, safe contact. Strategy includes knowing when to stop. Depth without care is just rewounding. Before we move into the summary, let's build a simple daily system so this doesn't stay theoretical. Here's a 3-part routine you can do in under 10 minutes. Morning, 2 minutes to set an intention like, today when I'm triggered, I'll pause before reacting. Visualize yourself taking one deep breath in a stressful moment. During the day, when a trigger hits and you can't process fully, jot a quick note in your phone. Just a keyword or two, like meeting dismissed, text ignored. Evening, spend 5-7 minutes reviewing those quick notes using the framework we've built. What happened, what I felt, the meaning, where I felt it before, what I needed, and one tiny experiment. This rhythm turns your entire day into lived shadow work without derailing your life. Small, consistent cycles beat rare, dramatic breakthroughs every time. Let's pull this together into a clear mental model. Triggers are not proof that you're failing. They're signals that an old pattern is active. Step 1. Regulate your nervous system so your brain is online. Breath, grounding, movement. Step 2. Capture the trigger objectively. What happened? What you felt in body and emotion? What meaning you gave it? Step 3. Connect it backward. Where have I felt this before? What role am I replaying? What projection might be happening? Step 4. Connect it forward. What did I need back then? How can I give a little of that to myself now? And what tiny boundary or behavior experiment can I try? Step 5. Rehearse in real life and measure progress by increased capacity, not absence of triggers. Wrap all of this in compassion, not self-attack. Done consistently, this turns your shadow from a saboteur into a strategist guiding your growth. If this resonated, don't let it stay as interesting theory. Pick one recent trigger, maybe from today, and run it through the full process. Regulate, log what happened, name your feelings and meanings, explore where you felt it before, identify the unmet need, and design one tiny experiment you can try in the next 24 hours. That's how you turn insight into rewiring. If you want support building this into a lifestyle, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss upcoming deep dives on nervous system work, boundaries, and relationships. I'd love to hear in the comments, what's one pattern you're starting to see more clearly? Share it in whatever way feels safe. Your language might help someone else find theirs. And if you know a friend stuck in the same reactions over and over, send this to them as a gentle invitation. Your triggers don't have to run your life. They can be the smartest part of your strategy.